Welcome to Fossils and Fiction, a podcast exploring cultural and scientific ideas about dinosaurs. Hi, I'm Travis Holland. Today on Fossils and Fiction, we're talking plesiosaurs, ichythyosaurs and mosasaurs. More specifically, I chat with Blamey, who is the creative producer for the Australian National Maritime Museum in Darling Harbour, Sydney. The museum currently has an exhibition called Sea Monsters, featuring a wide array of prehistoric oceanic life. It's open in Sydney from now until mid-August and will then tour to Newcastle, Western Australia and Townsville. Hi Em, welcome to Fossils and Fiction.
Hi Travis, thanks for having me.
Em, you are the creative producer for the Australian National Maritime Museum. Tell me about that job.
It is an awesome job. Basically, I get to create interactive exhibitions and experiences for the Maritime Museum. And I love it because I'm always learning new things depending what topic the exhibition's on, and then working out cool ways that I can share them with people. So it's very creative, and you get to see your ideas brought to life and get to see people enjoying them, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I remember going to the Maritime Museum as a kid. I think lots of primary schools do tours there. And my main memory is the retired submarine floating there in Darling Harbour. I had never considered that there might be a chance to meet a mosasaur. So you're here to tell me about the Sea Monsters exhibition. Tell us all about it.
Okay, well, I sort of feel I almost shouldn't be on this podcast because obviously it's not about dinosaurs.
No, that's okay. I had a good chat with Adam Yates about Australian megafauna. Anything that's big and dead suits me fine.
Okay, well, they're definitely big and they're definitely dead. And yes, this is the dinosaur exhibition you can do if you work in a maritime museum.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a lot of fun. So the Sea Monsters, it's called Sea Monsters Prehistoric Ocean Predators. So it basically tells you what it is. And it starts out by explaining that the ancient oceans were a really scary place because basically everyone in there was a predator. Unlike sort of on land where a lot of the really big dinosaurs were herbivores, everyone in the ocean was a predator. Everybody ate somebody because it was not like there were trees and other things for them to eat.
Sure, so yeah, they're dealing with a very different plant life, yeah.
Yep. The exhibition then goes on to introduce the three main groups of prehistoric marine reptiles that ruled the waves, so to speak. They're ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs and mosasaurs. And explains, which I found interesting when I discovered it, that they, like whales and dolphins, they all actually started on land and went back to the oceans. So they had to evolve and adapt to a marine environment.
Yeah, a sort of, not that it's getting any less complex, but, you know, we often think of evolution in these kind of linear terms, and that's going the other direction, back into the sea.
Yeah, so we go, oh, here's a resource that we've forgotten about. Let's go back there.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the specimens you have on show there?
So we've got a mix of real fossils and then casts and replicas and even some 3D prints of real fossils. Because basically real fossils are heavy and they're hard to tour, and a lot of places don't want to loan them. But real fossils, we've got specimens from all main groups, plus we've got some turtles and some sharks. Most of them are from Queensland because that's a great place to find marine reptiles in Australia, because there used to be a massive inland sea there where all these guys lived. So probably one of the largest real fossils we feature is a section of the jaw of a Kronosaurus that was found out near Boulia in outback Queensland. And the Sea Monsters exhibition is the first time it's ever been on display. And Kronosaurus were these massive sort of 10-metre plesiosaurs. They're named after the Greek titan Cronus, who ate his children because they would basically eat everything. They found other plesiosaur bones in their stomachs, so they weren't against a bit of cannibalism.
a sort of suitably monstrous name.
pretty, yeah, and a pretty monstrous creature. So, yeah, that's a nice specimen. But we've also got, casts of full 13-metre long elasmosaurs, that looks like Loch Ness Monster, and we've got the skull, because we couldn't fit any more in, of the Shostosaurus, the biggest ichthyosaur, which are the biggest sea monsters we've found yet. So yeah, we got a mixture of really, really big things, and then just little things like little teeth and stuff. So yeah, all sorts.
There's teeth. Teeth seems to be a very prominent or popular specimen of some of these creatures. Even my local museum has a collection of mosasaur teeth on show.
I think mosasaurs shed their teeth a bit like sharks. I think there's a lot of them to be found. So yes, we've got a few. We've got the ones I like are the globidans teeth, which is a type of mosasaur, but they have like little button teeth because they ate ammonites and things in hard shells. So they have more crushing teeth than biting teeth. So I quite like them. They're cute.
To crush and grind. And elasmosaurs were featured in Prehistoric Planet recently, so people might have seen them already there. I gather a lot of these are on loan from the Queensland Museum, is that right? They come from the collections there, or where else do they come from?
Yeah, some of the real fossils are from Queensland Museum. They've been really helpful in helping us develop the exhibition because we've got very few in our own collection. And then we have been lent some by some private collectors as well, and some we've purchased. But yeah, mostly Queensland Museum. I worked with a lovely paleontologist there called Espen Knutsen, who's discovered a lot of prehistoric marine reptiles all over the world, so he's an absolute wealth of knowledge.
What stories are you trying to tell in this exhibition? You mentioned talking about the dangers of the oceans. How do you kind of progress through from then on?
So yeah, the main trouble I had in developing this is what not to tell, because it seemed like every time I read something new, I found out something else that was really cool. So there's lots of stories basically about how they adapted to their marine environment, what happened to them, so when they went extinct, what took over from them in our oceans. And it also talks about how we know these things, so what clues there are in the fossil record and how we interpret them. So for example, there's some ichthyosaur coprolites in there, and you can look at them and see the little fish scales in them, and then there's a specimen of the fish that had those scales. So you can go, by looking at this poo, we can tell what they ate. So there's a bit of that sort of working out how we know things, and also there is a little bit of discussion about what we don't know. Some of the behavioural stuff that we can only guess at based on other animals and people, creatures that live in similar niches, but we don't know.
So you mentioned those coprolites. There's some of those on show as well, or? Yes,
we've got plenty of poo. Always popular.
Popular with children, absolutely.
And our big mosasaur sneezes as well, which is another of our popular things. There's a button you can press, because one thing we don't know is we don't know for sure is how they got rid of salt from their systems. But given that marine iguanas sneeze it out, we figured let's have our mosasaur sneeze.
Is that an animatronic or?
No, it's a push-button sound effect. But
it's a sound effect.
It's very cute.
What, in addition to the actual fossils there, what else is part of the exhibition that people can come and have a look at?
So there's interactives where you can do a variety of things. You can design your own sea monster and then release it into the wild and see if it would survive, depending on what adaptations you've given it.
A bit Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Not quite that gory, but yes. You can try the different swimming mechanisms, because what's interesting is that the three separate groups all readapted to the marine environment. So they all had to learn to swim, but they all developed very different techniques for swimming, which I found quite interesting. So there's an interactive where you get to sort of try out, you can try swimming like an ichthyosaur versus like a mosasaur. And the plesiosaurs swam like no other creature ever has. No one else has done it since like they do. So that's quite interesting. What one of my absolute favourite stories on fossils is how it was confirmed that the ichthyosaurs gave birth to live young, because they found a fossil that's in a museum in Stuttgart now of a fetus actually coming out of an ichthyosaur. Obviously, they'd hypothesized that they must do, because they couldn't go ashore and lay eggs like turtles do, and most reptiles do lay eggs, but they hypothesized that they in the ocean they must give birth to live young. But then they actually found it in the fossil record. It was very exciting.
Fantastic. And similar to modern day sharks.
Yeah, and dolphins. So we've got some footage of dolphin, because similar to dolphins, obviously they breathe air, so they give birth tail first, so that the last thing out is the head, and as soon as it's out, it can swim up to the surface and take a breath. So that's a great specimen, and because the real one was in Stuttgart, what we actually managed to do was get a lovely guy called Heinrich over there to take tons and tons of photographs of it and create a 3D photogrammetry model of the real specimen, and then we could actually 3D print it in this stone-like material. So it feels like it's made of stone in a real fossil, but it actually comes from a digital file. But it's great, it means you can touch it and you could really feel the bones and see the fetus, and that was a great specimen.
It gives you a real opportunity to get that tactile sense without, running the risk of damaging the fossil or having to transport it across the world, and it means it can be on show anywhere all at once, basically.
Absolutely, and even compared to taking a cast, which can result in damaging a fossil and does require them being off display, all they had to do in this case was literally lift the cover off it, so he could take the photographs and then put it back. So it's new technology is making us a lot easier.
Great. Are there any other special events or things that people should look out for if they're planning to visit sea monsters?
We've got, if this goes online in time, there's a fantastic creative workshop on the 13th and the 14th of July during the school holidays, where 8 to 14-year-olds can spend the day learning how to cast fossil replicas, which sounds awesome. I'm tempted to join in. And then on certain days during the school holidays as well, there will be roaming plesiosaur puppets that you can interact with. But all the details are on our website, which is www.sea.museum.
And I gather that's where people can go if they want to find out more and get tickets, correct?
Absolutely. Or yes, you can buy them on the day, but if you buy them in advance, you probably save a bit of queuing.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the exhibition before I let you go?
Only that if you're not able to come and see it in Sydney, don't panic, because it's also going to be continuing its national tour after it's been here. So I'm not exactly sure the order, but it will be in Newcastle, it will be in Townsville, and over in WA. So there will be opportunities to see it wherever you are.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'll make sure I get some of those details, and we'll publish them in the show notes so people all around the country can get along and see sea monsters by the Australian National Maritime Museum. Blamey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, no problem.
Thanks to Blamey for that wonderful conversation. For more information about the Sea Monsters exhibition, visit the Maritime Museum's website, sea.museum. Thank you for listening to the Fossils and Fiction podcast, produced by me, Travis Holland, with the support of Charles Sturt University. The podcast theme music is Sonora by Quincas Morea via the YouTube audio library. Find more content on our social media channels: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available on the website fossilsfiction.co. You can subscribe to the podcast on all major podcasting platforms.